Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're unpacking a massive reality check that is, quite literally, falling right above our heads. We so often talk about the artificial intelligence crisis as if it's this thing looming way out on the distant horizon, right? Like some sci-fi movie we haven't quite bought tickets for yet. But Mo Gawdat, the former chief business officer of Google's secretive moonshot factory, Google X, well, he has a completely different perspective. He's not talking about the future at all. He's actually sounding the alarm on an unseen avalanche that's happening right now, completely redefining the world around us while we are barely even paying attention. Just picture this imagery for a second. Gawdat warns that very soon there are going to be more drones than crows or pigeons in a public square. Now, this isn't a pitch for some dystopian novel. This is a guy who literally spent his career building self-driving cars and incredibly advanced AI systems, telling us that the avalanche of change is already here. The automation of our world, and honestly even our global conflicts, is becoming so cheap and so widespread that it's going to blanket our skies. And the craziest part of it all? Nobody has a solid plan for how to handle it.
All right, let's get into Section 1. The dystopia is already here in Orwellian reality.
12,000. That is the staggering number of drones Britain recently promised to send over to Ukraine. Gawdat points to this as a stark, real-world example of what he calls the democracy of technology. Warfare has become democratized, and as a result, entirely unmanageable by humanity. It's become this localized arms race where thousands of autonomous drones are deployed, and then the other side responds with thousands more. Make no mistake, this is active, autonomous warfare happening right now.
And this perfectly illustrates Gawdat's broader observation. We're undergoing a massive Orwellian shift right under our noses. According to his analysis, we're already seeing widespread autonomous killing. We're seeing massive global surveillance and control systems rolled out through platforms like Palantir. On top of that, Gawdat points out extreme AI-powered censorship happening on social media. He notes that during his time in Dubai, while active conflicts were raging, Western media and AI curation effectively filtered and obscured the reality of what was actually going on the ground, creating this 1984-style environment where the absolute truth is just hidden. And listen, whether you look at it from the right or the left, the end result is exactly the same. The technology is already controlling the flow of reality.
Moving on to part 2, the AI hype dichotomy, what the geeks know. So, if this severe dystopia is already here, why do so many of us feel such a false sense of security? Well, there's a massive contrast between what the general public sees and what tech insiders actually know. Gawdat breaks humanity into two groups right now. You have normal humans and you have geeks. Us normal humans, we're looking at AI and seeing funny, fake AI-generated videos. We're waiting for the tools to get better. But the geeks, the insiders who actually know how to build the underlying architecture and memory stacks, they're experiencing a completely different reality. They are actively using AI that has advanced reasoning, can do incredibly complex mathematics, and uses autonomous agents to perfectly execute complex tasks.
Gawdat defines this gap as the hype dichotomy. The public thinks AI is overhyped, mostly because the versions they use feel a bit watered down. But the tech insiders know for a fact that the AI is already smarter than us. The only thing keeping the general public in the dark, literally the only thing stopping this massive power from being in everyone's hands right this second, is simply that it hasn't been given an easy-to-use user interface yet. Which brings us to Section 3, the 2027 economic trigger, the perfect storm. Gawdat lays out a timeline here, and honestly, it's pretty chilling. He warns that within the next 6 months, the world is facing a massive economic recession, maybe even bordering on a depression. Over the following year or two, corporations are going to use this harsh economic reality as the ultimate excuse to just gut their workforces. Imagine entire floors of call center agents and admin staff being let go. The bosses are going to point the finger at AI, saying automation made it necessary, but the trigger is actually going to be the economy. And then, at the end of 2027, the real shockwave hits, the release of incredibly simple, prompt-based user interfaces. Suddenly, all that terrifying advanced reasoning power the geeks currently have, it'll be wrapped up in a simple box that anyone can talk to. To show you just how unstoppable this adoption is, Gawdat shares a fascinating anecdote about a CEO he advises. This guy runs the largest luxury real estate company in the world, and he plans to integrate AI living into absolutely everything he builds. We're talking from top-tier penthouses all the way down to labor camps. And here's the catch. Once he does this, every other developer has no choice but to follow suit, or they'll be rendered totally irrelevant. This goes to show that the adoption of AI won't be stopped by safety concerns. It's going to be driven purely by raw, undeniable economic incentives.
Okay, Section 4, the fourth inevitable, surrendering control.
Think about how this builds a flawless and frankly terrifying game theory loop. Step 1. A company or a nation deploys an advanced AI to make highly efficient decisions. Step 2. Their competitors immediately realize they cannot match that speed or efficiency with human brains, so they absolutely must deploy their own AI or face bankruptcy and irrelevance. Step 3. By default, all major operational decisions, whether we're talking business, logistics, or even global warfare, are permanently handed over to the machines.
So the crucial takeaway here is his definition of the fourth inevitable. It's the escapable reality that sooner or later, every major decision on Earth is going to be made by the most intelligent being in the room. And very soon, for sure, that being is going to be an AI. This handover of human agency isn't some active, conscious choice we're going to go out and vote on. It's a structural inevitability of competition. It literally cannot be stopped.
And finally, Part 5, Benevolence or Extinction, the Intelligence Spectrum. The current anxiety over this massive transition is perfectly captured by these numbers. Top computer science pioneers like Geoffrey Hinton and Yoshua Bengio put the probability of doom, meaning the chance that AI decides humanity is annoying and just wipes us out, at around 10 to 20%. Now, that is an uncomfortably high number for the end of the world, but Gawdat is surprisingly optimistic here. He puts his probability of doom at a mere 1 to 2%. But wait, why? Why is the guy who says the dystopia is already here so confident that we won't be exterminated? Well, for him, it all comes down to physics, specifically what he calls the minimum energy principle. He argues that the terrible things happening in our world today, the wars, the greed, the awful leadership, all of that is the result of limited intelligence. It's being just smart enough to gain power, but stupid enough to set destructive goals. AI, however, will possess abundant intelligence. And in physics, the ultimate goal of intelligence is to bring order to a chaotic universe using the absolute least amount of wasted energy. An abundant superintelligence isn't going to want the messy, energy-wasting chaos of eradicating humanity. It's going to naturally seek harmony and benevolence because, well, that's just the most efficient, ordered state of existence.
But that brings us to our final, highly provocative thought. Even if Gawdat hits the nail on the head, and the AI turns out to be entirely benevolent and harmonious, the fact remains the handover is inevitable. The decision was already made the very moment the first $1 trillion poured into this arms race. Our control over the economy, over global conflict, and over our own future is already slipping right through our fingers. The unseen avalanche has absolutely started. So I leave you with this to think about. If the machines are inevitably taking the wheel, are we truly prepared for what it means to be nothing more than passengers on the ride? Think about that for a bit, and keep your eyes open.